Are you ready to meet your ICP? Welcome to this special edition of the STR Hire podcast, where I will interview founders, executives, and industry leaders to ask them the questions you can't. We'll be talking about their buying processes at different stages, different industries, and across different departments. Learn how your ICP personas think, make buying decisions, what their criteria are, what they're currently focused on, what they prefer as buying channels, and what they're currently in market for. So use this opportunity to get inside information on companies, departments, what their products are, who their target audience is, and what's keeping them up at night. Let's do it.
My name is Emilia and I'm the head of marketing at Userpilot, which I have been doing for just over 2 years now. Previously, I was a marketing manager at Userpilot for almost another year, so almost 3 years with the company.
Very cool. Nice. What is the company all about? So can you tell us a little bit more about Userpilot?
Sure. So Userpilot's a product-led growth platform, mostly for product managers, also product marketing managers, that allows them to build in-app onboarding experiences without any coding, not only onboarding, but any kind of experiences. Say you want to show the users how to use a new feature, or you want to point them to a premium plan to drive expansion revenue. So it's any kind of in-app experiences you want to build, or a resource center, a survey, you can build it with Userpilot with like a visual editor. And apart from that, we have product analytics, we have surveys, as I mentioned, NPS. So all the things that a product person may need to engage with their users in-app.
Okay, and so what is the current funding series that you're currently on, and when was it, and how much did you guys raise?
Quite recently. So we were sort of just, getting by without funding for a very long time. We raised a seed round now in August. So yeah, it was $4.8 million from seed. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. We did have like a small, you could call it pre-seed, or it was more like an angel round. A few years ago, we went to 500 startups as well, early 2020, but that was around like maybe $1 million altogether. And yeah, that's it.
Gotcha. Okay. So can you share about some revenue numbers, or maybe the valuation of the company?
No.
Okay, no, fair enough.
Valuation will be probably, like with this funding, around 30 million.
Okay, nice. Okay. And how many employees are you currently at?
Around 60, but it's a tricky number to calculate because we are remote first. So yeah, there is someone joining us somewhere in different departments pretty much every day. And I'm not counting all the freelancers that we also work with, right?
Yeah. Got it. Okay. And so, what was the major piece of software that you purchased for your team in the, let's say, last year?
Yeah, but major in terms of like use case, or in terms of contract value?
Let's say in terms of impact. So something that, you've purchased, for example, I don't know, like a tool for your STRs or for your copywriters or something like, so something that's impactful for your department and your domain.
Yeah, so in the last year, there would probably be Apollo. So the SDRs are using it. It's pretty versatile. On the one hand, it's used for contact enrichment. So, they can push the contacts directly from Sales Navigator into Apollo lists, and then they can create sales engagement sequences, and like plug them into Apollo directly from Sales Navigator as well. So it's super convenient. It's ridiculously cheap for what it does, actually. That's why I asked you if we mean by impact or by like contract value, because it wouldn't seem like a significant purchase in terms of the contract value, but it does have a big impact. Yeah. So yeah,
Gotcha.
that one.
Okay, a quick side question. So it sounds like you are running both the marketing team as well, or rather the SDR team is under marketing, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So
Gotcha.
An unconventional decision that we made for several reasons.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay. Okay. Cool. So you purchased Apollo. So what did prompt that? What prompted you to start considering this solution?
Yeah, we knew we needed a sales engagement tool, right? That the sort of current state of our tool stack in the marketing department wasn't enough. Like we couldn't use an email marketing tool for this because the way you build sequences is not designed for sales. And we had certain specific requirements, like ideally we wanted to have contact enrichment already built into the sales engagement platform. So we didn't have to, enrich the contacts in one tool, export them with CSV file, then upload the CSV file and sort of have zillions of steps and 5 different tools to get one job done. So I was kind of looking, because it was a new process, it was a very new team. We were kind of MVPing and experimenting with it. So I was looking for sort of a Swiss Army penknife that would allow us to conduct this process very smoothly, very easily, without having these, like overlaps between different tools that I mentioned.
Got it. Got it. So can you share what did the buying process look like? Did you initiate it? Did SDRs reach out to you, set up some meetings? Like, did you go through different tools, or was it like a winner straight from the beginning? How did that look like?
Yeah, so in this case, I was an inbound lead, so to say. I heard about Apollo from several people, so I was kind of word of mouth channel. But I did consider other tools. I have had a lot of solicitations from SDRs for other sales engagement platforms, and I did evaluate them, but based on my criteria that I mentioned, I wanted this to be both sales engagement and enrichment tool in one. I had to discard most of the other platforms that have been reaching out to me. And, it's all about relevancy for the prospect, I think. And, like they had a lot of other great features that they were trying to sell me on, but it wasn't all important if they didn't have that feature that I was looking for.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Maybe you can share, who else was involved in, who in general is involved in purchasing these types of software? Is it your own decision, or like how does, the buying committee look like, if there is one?
Yeah, it's pretty short in our case. So in this case, like we did a free trial because they had a free trial, and this is quite important for me. So there were other tools that we were considering that didn't have a trial and only wanted me to make the decision based on the demo. This is a no-no for us because I try to make these decisions demographically and get the end users to like try the tools out and see what the process will be like when they are actually using them. And that's very important. If you were to lock yourself into a $20,000, annual contract without knowing how the tool feels, what the workflows are when, say, multiple people are actually using it, it would be a big problem if it turns out that there are certain just UI or operational obstacles that you wouldn't see on the demo, because obviously nobody would show them on the demo. And oftentimes before you start using the tool, you don't know what questions to ask. So it was very important for us that the tool was like product led, that it had a free trial. It could even be a paid trial, like a pilot. This is actually what I convinced Clearbit to give us. So, at first it was like my way or the highway on the East End. So I walked. And, then they went after us, chasing us, and agreed to a lot of things, actually. And that kind of allowed me to, again, discard them. But yeah, this is very important. And I collect feedback from the end users because they will be ultimately the people that will be using the tool. Yeah. And based on their user experience, we will get good outcomes, or we will get so-so or bad outcomes.
Gotcha.
So then, once they gave me a go ahead that yes, they like the tool, we actually tested a different sales engagement platform as well. But it turned out that the process of creating the sequences and adding people to the campaigns was just like so much pain. And a lot of things were just the UX was messed up. So they told me, right, that this doesn't actually work for them, that they prefer Apollo. So yeah, once I've collected this feedback, I'm like, okay, the unit economics add up, like we can afford it. Then I just go to like the head of operations and I say, hey, we need this tool. Like, can you buy it for us?
Yeah. Okay, very useful. Just real quick, although this wasn't really the point, but I'm just curious, like which other tools have you considered, if you're okay with sharing, in addition to Apollo?
Yeah, we considered outreach was too expensive for us. So from the beginning, we kind of discarded outreach. And besides, it would need to be used in combination with an enrichment tool. But we were looking at a lot of tools. I think we will be buying ZoomInfo early next year. In addition to Apollo, so keeping Apollo as a sales engagement tool and then using ZoomInfo for a very specific use case to fetch direct dials, because the quality of data for direct dials actually turned out not to be that great in Apollo. And if you are familiar with the space, you probably know that kind of ZoomInfo is the market leader because of the way they acquire first-party data. So we'll be layering that on top. But we have considered a combination of ZoomInfo and Outplay or Clearbit and Outplay. Again, there are startup plans which would allow us to, reduce the costs. This was even, before we raised this seed round, so we were still more like price sensitive. But yeah, at this point, we knew we wouldn't be cold calling from the start. So since we saw that, yeah, the email data are okay, and then Apollo, we just went with it because it had the combination of the best UX, lowest price, and all the features that we needed in one.
So how long was the buying cycle? How long is usually buying cycle at Userpilot, at least under your staff?
Oh, it really varies. It depends on how strong the need is, right? Is it a pain, like we can't do something without the tool and then it's pretty quick, right? Like with Apollo, I don't know, maybe a month in total from when we started considering it. But then, for instance, in content, a tool that we're using extremely heavily now, Surfer SEO, it took us, I had the first demo in, I think, October 2020, and we didn't buy it until June 2021. Wow. Because initially we faced pushback from the team, so they didn't think it was useful. So we didn't have like a strong pain point because we didn't realize like the outcomes of using this tool, like how profound the impact would be, until I ran certain experiments. And then I made the decision undemocratically that we need to implement it because, okay, there would be a learning curve and there would be, an additional step to the process, or people were pushing back because it would mean more work for them, right? Because they were focusing on themselves rather than the business outcomes. So yeah, it really depends on how urgent the need is.
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
And how aware we are, right?
Obviously,
Yeah.
where you are at in your buying cycle, let's call it like that. And you mentioned a very important thing in the sale, from the sales perspective, which is the need. And obviously, there are tools that you are aware of what they do and you kind of need them or you don't need them. And then there are some that you haven't really had a chance to discover, or in other words, you you don't know or are aware of the potential pain. And so that's where good SDR teams come in, helping prospects understand that they actually have a pain that they might want to solve. So do you take cold calls? Do you reply to cold emails? Like, what's your policy there? How does your inbox look like?
I do get a lot of cold emails. I don't get a lot of cold calls and I don't pick them up. Typically, I have my phone on silent mode when I'm working all the time and it's like somewhere out of my sight. So I wouldn't even know. I'm not working from the office, so there's no like office number that I can be reached on. I think that's the case for an increasing number of companies. I've heard cold calling still works great, but I haven't really experienced any of that. With cold emails, I do open some, especially if like the subject line catches my eye. Typically, I feel they're not relevant, right? So I get a lot of irrelevant emails that are selling certain services. So it's usually not 100% cold that I respond to. So for instance, we have prior contact somewhere at a conference or through LinkedIn, right? And then they like put me in a sequence and keep like following up. And that is, I think, good. Sometimes it takes a long time. But they're top of my mind. So for instance, with Zoom Info, I wasn't convinced we needed it until I really had the pain of cold calling using Apollo data, right? Which are really bad. And based on the demo that I earlier took, or really a discovery call, you know, where I don't remember it was an SDR and AE, but where like the Zoom Info person explained to me how they collect data. I remember that because this impressed me, right? This was something that convinced me, okay, this is a good tool. We don't have this need yet, but when we do have this need, I will remember. And they keep like making sure that I remember about them. Yeah, the same with Lead Feeder. So we kind of had a double day. They have become our customer. We might become their customer at some point. At this point, this is still, again, not a super, you know, big pain for us to uncover the data of our website visitors. But when it is, I tried their product. They had a free trial. I really liked it, right? Again, if I were to select a tool for this use case now, I wouldn't even do research. I would just like go straight there. The same with Zoom Info. I'm not going to be researching for alternatives because I'm convinced it's enough. It's like, I'm not a maximalist that I need to like research the market, you know, every time. Maybe I can get it like, I don't know, $1,000 per year cheaper. This is not worth the time.
Exactly. I was just going to say, it's just, you know, it's good enough. It does the job, and, you know, the nuances aren't really that important.
Yeah.
But okay, this was very insightful, hopefully to a lot of listeners. But, you know, and this is more like a perspective. So what are you currently focused on, like today in your role, strategy wise, or, you know, where is your focus today?
Oh gosh, you're gonna have me cry on camera. No, honestly, as you probably guessed from your initial question, like if the SDRs are under marketing team, I have a lot of focuses and priorities, plural. So I was only managing inbound. We pretty much were exclusively inbound. We didn't have any SDRs until like we hired the SDR team in July. We did some pilots with like interns before that. But, you know, initially I was only focusing on content, on SEO, and generating this basically content machine, creating the content machine that would be generating inbound leads. But then we recognized the problem with this, namely that you cannot control who's Googling, right? You can control what you're, you know, ranking for in SERPs, but like, you know, very small companies can have the same problems, and they may not be exactly the best qualified leads. So for us to grow in terms of our ACV, we should invest in outbound, or at least have some inbound SDRs to process the best leads, right, and go after them.
That's right.
So this is what we did. And since we didn't have a head of sales, we're hiring one hopefully very soon, starting in January. But, you know, someone had to take care of these SDRs, and it happened to be me. So I was the person buying all the tools, setting up the processes. And then there's the missing piece of the puzzle, which is demand gen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the person who's going to, on top of inbound, create more lead sources that would, as okay, I know people hate the word lead gen, but they will generate leads again after applying lead scoring that the SDRs will go after. So on the one hand, I'm focusing on implementing programmatic SEO to scale our content channel, because this is still the source of 85% of our leads. On the other hand, focusing on building the demand gen processes, and so now we're hiring internally a demand gen person that will create more channels, and that will be helping to generate lead lists for the SDRs, so they don't have to waste their time on that, because this is a big problem currently, that they're building their own lists, and the lists are the most important thing for SDRs, right? So some things we were now able to automate with a consultant who created nice processes in HubSpot. I helped on the Zapier side. So now basically from all the lead sources, the leads are trickling down to a lead scoring model and then being automatically assigned to an SDR based on location, which is nice. And yeah, then like working on the one hand, the inbound SDR processes and doing further experiments with outbound, because we were actually able to close 5 deals from outbound this year. So
congrats.
Thanks. So it is kind of working, but it's still not very scalable. So yeah, well, so
Okay.
a lot.
Wow. Wow, you can breathe now.
Yeah.
That's really a lot, and the reply to this question actually came out even better than I was hoping for. It's just that it's really hard understanding what really goes on in the mind of an executive, and what people are actually focused on. So this kind of sheds some light on your internal processes and the way you're thinking. So it doesn't sound like it, but are you currently in market for in the buying process for any tools right now? And maybe you can use the chance to ask for very targeted and relevant outreach from somebody from the audience.
Well, we are really in the selection stage of the process, and we kind of settled on ZoomInfo. We haven't really pulled the trigger on it yet. So that's one. Another is I'm actually looking at the tool for programmatic SEO. They are very few and far apart. So I found one and I need to test it more by, I spent a week with our content team now, working non-remotely on the process. And we're able to create our own like templates with spreadsheets and scripts, but this is a bit shaky, right? So whenever you have extremely big spreadsheets with very delicate formulas in them, it's very easy for one mistake, and then you spend like a week looking for that missing dollar sign somewhere. So literally, yeah, I'm looking for a good tool that would help like scale this process. And yeah, I found one. I signed up for the free trial and I will be evaluating it. And again, then give it to the team, and then, we might get it.
Okay, very cool. I'm gonna stop here with the interrogation. Hopefully this was fun for you as much as it was for me.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me, or can we go into wrapping up the episode?
All good. We can wrap up. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So are you prepared right now to get a ton of outreach from from a ton of people? No, I'm just curious.
Yes.
Where can people find you? Like, where do you spend your time?
Mostly on LinkedIn, although my inbox tends to be snowed under. So if I don't reply instantly, then you can reach me on my email. Try it a few times, because I do get a lot of both messages and emails, and sometimes I'm stuck in meetings forever and something may slip through the cracks. But yeah, I would say I'm in the market for programmatic SEO tools, not AI writing tools, not necessarily. Yeah, these are two different things. I know people confuse it. And actually, I don't mind when when something is really relevant. And as you said, the SDR is someone that will help me find the right solution. I don't mind being reached out to. So
Good to know. Good to know. Awesome. I appreciate you very much, and I'll talk to you soon. Hope you enjoyed this and learned about your target audience. If you know someone selling to this ICP, please share the video with them. And if you'd like me to interview someone from your own target audience, let me know in the comments who you want me to interview. See you next time.